All right, everybody, we're back with the Smarter Sculpted Physique podcast, and my special guest today is Erin Simmons. Erin, thanks for coming on. This is going to be great.
Thanks for
So,
having me. Appreciate it.
we have a lot in common. I'll get to that in a while, but I want to introduce you to my audience, of course, for those who may not know who you are. So, Erin holds a Bachelor of Science in 2008 in biology, Master of Science 2011 in biology. She was a Division I track athlete at Florida State. She also has a PhD in nutrition from Texas A&M, so that's boom. All you guys who know me, you know I'm about what expertise really is, which is a combination of academia and experience. So Erin has both of those to offer in spades. And not to mention, we can get into some stuff below. Erin, just for your own understanding, lately I've been jokingly saying I'm going to change the name of my podcast to the Authenticity Podcast. I'm going out of my way to find people that I can get on the show who I deem as authentic. They're just real people. This is who they are. This is what they're about. Because it's so rare now with social media. There's a lot of people who, even feign authenticity because it's a good way to get likes and subscribers and all the rest of it, but it's all one big pretension. And the problem with that is if people who lack authenticity lack the ability to see it in others, so which is really unfortunate. So I'm trying to get as many truly people that I deem authentic on my podcast, and it's been a great run lately, especially with ladies. I've had a lot of ladies on in a row lately. You're the latest, of course. And for me, I hate even having to make the distinction that, the gender distinction. Oh, today I have, my female guest is, but we're still at a point in this industry and others where we still have to make that distinction. It bothers me immensely, but I don't know if you have any thoughts on that, but go ahead, jump in. And then I do want to say something else, but go ahead.
Yeah, it's pretty funny just the reaction that you get if you do try to help somebody. It's like me as a female, I almost have to say, hey, I was a track athlete. I have a PhD in nutrition. I coached 6 years for a national championship track and field team. Can I help you? I have the NSCA, CSCS, I have this certification, that certification. Can I help you to really be taken seriously? And especially even if you're talking to a guy at that point, they're still just a little bit skeptical because you're a female. So that is absolutely still a thing. And especially when I was coaching, there were very few female coaches that were at that level. So
hard to garner the respect then, right?
Yeah, you really have to put yourself out there, that's for sure.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate because basically what you're saying is your resume has to come first. And I was talking about double standards in the fitness industry the other day with one of my female guests. She didn't quite want to go there, I don't think, but I was just making the point that I'm looking at a lot of experts at my level who have been around as long as I have. And I was making the point that it seems that middle age has taken effect on them, as it tends to do. And, but these male experts, and they are experts. There's no denying it. There's no question about it. They're recognized as such. And I'm not saying they're not either. But, they're 20, 30 pounds pudgier, softer, whatever. And I was trying to make the point that if a female expert of equal stature was to have that happen to her middle-aged body, she wouldn't be taken seriously. It would be like, well, why would I listen to you? But yet no one puts that male expert in their mid-50s whose age has got a hold of them. No one says that about the male expert. Just the female expert, in that.
Every male coach.
Yeah.
Age of 30.
I mean, it's well, not me. I'm almost 58, and trust me, that's one of the things. since I'm in the physique transformation game, I've always been my whole career, don't talk it if you can't walk it. So I'm still, I still make sure I walk that. But getting back to the authenticity thing, one of the things that made me stand up and applaud before I even knew who you were, and I was sent I'm going to call it a mission statement. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm going to read this to my audience because I think it merits reading, and then I can get you to sort of use it as a jumping off point. But just so you know, I did a hell yeah and a standing ovation when I read this. So let my readers will know, my readers and followers know why. But let me get to your description from your Facebook page, if you don't mind, and I'll just read it through. And then my following will get a better understanding of you as well. So you say, what is Erin Simmons Fitness? If you think it's just a place to get your kicks looking at pics of a fit girl, then unfollow me. Some of you may not know, but Erin Simmons Fitness was born when my time as a student athlete ended. Teammates told me I should be a fitness model, so I figured I'd give it a go. I got some pictures taken, made social media accounts, and I watched it grow. Unfortunately, it grew into something I never really wanted. I discovered that fitness modeling, quote unquote, meant selling out to supplement companies and posing on stage like a show pony with an Oompa Loompa tan. It just wasn't for me. So I began turning Erin Simmons Fitness into a community of people interested in health and fitness. I started posting workouts, recipes, and articles to give followers fresh ideas. As I have progressed in my schooling and career, I've shared cool new science and debunked common fitness and health myths. I've only ever shared or promoted things that I use and believe in and have thoroughly researched. I've decided it's time for a lot of people to unfollow me. I'm not here to sell you some magic formula, and I'm certainly not here to get DMs from randos with fetishes for different body parts. I'm here to motivate a community of people seriously interested in being strong and healthy inside and out. I'm here to support amazing causes, spread scientific knowledge, promote women's athletics, and foster a sense of true living life to the fullest. If that's what you're here for, I'm so glad to have you. So unfollow me if you're just here for pics of fit girls. Those are a dime a dozen. Erin Simmons Fitness is different, always has been, and it will be from now on. I just think that's beyond brilliant. What inspired that? What was it? Was it a reaction? Was it a pro-action? How did you end up penning that? And how many takes did you do on that? Because it's brilliantly written.
Oh, that was just a one-time venting. I'm just gonna get all my thoughts out here because, especially when I first had Facebook, and it was growing. I was, like I said in the post, I was doing some things just to try to get it growing and posting the pictures of the day and that kind of thing. But then as it started to really grow into what I wanted it to be, I was trying to spread nutrition advice and I was trying to post workouts, and I was just noticing that if I posted one of my photo shoot pics, I would get a ton of likes. And then if I posted something that was, some science-based thing, it would get maybe 50. And, I just kept getting the comments about, oh, your calves and oh, your abs. And I would get DMs about all kinds of things like I even want to get into.
Yeah.
And it just finally came to a point that I was like, you know what? If that's what you're here for, there are girls that show way more than I ever have in any of my pictures. And there are a million accounts of Instagram models that people can go follow. But I just wanted people to know that that's not me. And I'm not really going to have a tolerance for, if people post anything on my page that has to do with, oh, this body part, and I just blocked them. And so I was just giving people a heads up that, hey, this is how it's going to be from now on. And if you don't like it, there are lots of other accounts that you can go follow.
Now, did you get a lot of unfollowers?
Honestly, not really. I guess people didn't listen to me, but I got some. But a lot more people commented that, that's why they do follow, and that's why they always have followed and followed over the years. And that's what they've always enjoyed about my account versus many others. So that was good to hear. I still get, random people that maybe haven't seen that post or have followed me since then. And like I said, it just, if they're gonna post things that aren't related to the message that I'm sharing, then I'm just gonna block them, and hopefully they'll find something else that fits their interests better.
I share your frustration in I'm not a social media person. I'm on there for business, etc., because you should be on there for business. But after 4 decades of doing what I do, I know a little bit about what works and why it works and how it works. And when I post something that I think is of vital importance, it gets nominal attention. When you post something that's, hey, shiny object over here, like then it's like, oh, gazillion likes, a gazillion hits, like, and I'm just thinking like, how much more dumbing down of people's attention spans do we have to work at before we can actually just start educating people, right? I used to think the problem with education was with us educators, that we were just doing something wrong, and we forget what it's like to not know. And I kind of come full circle with that, in that I think a lot of the responsibility falls on the consumer, because it's almost like they don't want to be educated. They want, show me another shiny object. Show me another shiny object. What's the latest thing? What's the latest bandwagon I can jump on, even though I've been jumping on them for 30 years and nothing's ever worked? Definition of insanity, right? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Oh, absolutely. And I think just social media in general, and the evolution of Facebook to where everything has a picture, and Instagram is just all pictures. People like it before they even read what's underneath it, just based on what they're looking at. And so marketing of all kinds, whether it's business or personal, has just gone to visual. And just because of that, whatever you say, you have to sit there and think, okay, what can I put in a visual to capture people's attention long enough to get them to actually read the information that I'm sharing?
Yeah, what can I condense into 100 words? Like I used to have, before Facebook started choking on business accounts back, I don't know, would have been around 2011, 2012. I just did written posts, and they would be like 500-600 words, like, mini blogs, and they would get, 50 shares, 5,000 likes, and then that just disappeared. If you don't have a photo and a, hey, look at me kind of like, and then give someone to read on top of that, to absorb like why you want them to like pay, it's just like, nope, put it in 50 words or less, because I got to scroll to the next 20 meaningless comments and pictures. And the ironic thing there is, a lot of these people think this is actually gathering information, right? It's just, it's not, it's a stimulation addiction. Do you agree?
Oh, absolutely. And the scary thing is, it's like that even in universities too, because I've been a teaching assistant or taught classes, and it's like, again, you have to figure out what visual thing can I put in here to get them to look at it and to convey what I'm trying to say. Because if you put, granted, I understand if you're doing PowerPoint presentations or something like that, it can't just be all words. That's not going to work either. But just getting people to actively read it and engage in it without a visual is nearly impossible at this point, even in higher education.
Which is sad, right? Because I don't think someone like, you have your bachelor's, you have your master's, you have your PhD. I don't think you got any of those by looking at pictures with very little text.
I did not.
Neither did I. I have a master's and I won a few academic scholarships, and that was from having my nose in the books back when there used to be books. So,
I've drawn myself some pictures, but
yeah, it's just amazing that people want to be taught the way they want to be taught. So it's like, well, no, I can't teach you that way. What you really need to learn is over here. And if you're not willing to come over here with me, you're not really going to learn what you need to learn to conquer your demons, accomplish your goals, you know, that kind of thing. So let me change gears for a minute. So you're a Division I athlete. Define for me the term athlete off the top of your noggin.
I would just say someone who's dedicated to a sport, who actively competes in it.
So
That sport would be.
Okay, let me challenge you with that then, because you might. I mean, I'm interested in what you have to say here. So you did the figure competition thing. Is that?
I actually never did.
Oh, okay. Oh, you did fitness modeling.
I tried, yes.
Okay. So would you call that an athletic endeavor by your definition of the term?
No, and that's what I guess for me, I understand that people who do the different competitions are working very hard to get where they are, but there's really no, and the reason why fitness modeling or even the fitness competitions never really attracted me in the long run was because it's aesthetic primarily, and so you can do different workouts to build that muscle, but the muscle's not necessarily I'm not saying it's never functional, but it's not necessarily functional. So a lot of people would add size, or you do the tan or whatever it is, and it doesn't speak to what you're actually, like, what you actually lift, or how fast you run, or personally, in my opinion.
And here's the thing for me. I mean, again, I come from that world. I don't know if you know that, but I was like immersed. I was at the top of that world actually for many, many years. I trained and peaked athletes for competition. But it's especially exploitative of females, which bothers me immensely. I'm contemplating writing an article like, and I'm going to title it, "Please Exploit Me. I Really Want You to." Because the amount of ladies who willingly sign up for this stuff, and basically in physique competition for men and women, but especially for women, what you have is, please compare my unrealistic, unsustainable physique to another lady's unrealistic, unsustainable physique and validate me for doing so. And I'm like, that is possibly the worst imprint to leave on any female's mind, let alone just all the things that it tends to engender. And then there's the cost element too. So you want to basically, female physique competition saved the bodybuilding industry. It was dying. It was almost practically dead. And it's the one thing where females actually saved an industry and no one talks about it. So it started out with female bodybuilding, and then that got ridiculous. So they made fitness, and then that got to be, if you didn't have a background in cheerleading or gymnastics, then that wasn't fair either. So it went to figure, and then figure, if you're not born with wider clavicles and narrow hips, as Robert Kennedy used to say, if you don't look like a 12-year-old boy with implants, then you're never going to win. And then so they turned that into bikini. And with that, you pay a coach, you pay an entry fee to some organization, you pay to be a member of that organization, then you pay. It was ridiculous. The last time I trained figure competitors, her posing suit was like $1,500. It was basically glitterized dental floss. And then you're paying a posing coach. This is the ridiculous part for me, Erin. A posing coach to pay money to teach you to turn to the side 4 times. I mean,
you have to keep your butt flexed while you're doing it.
Really, you need a coach for this. Like if you went to my YouTube channel and you researched me, you would see like there's a playlist, Coach Abel on Stage. I did 4 and 5 minute posing routines choreographed to music, where I hit poses on the beat of the music and went for 4 minutes. And I never had a posing coach. Mm-hmm. Now a woman needs to, and the shoes, that's another however many dollars that is. And you need a coach to help you to turn to the side and turn to the side and turn to the side and turn to the side. You're not given the empowerment to make those decisions for yourself, to say, I look best standing this way. I look best standing this way. You can't use a mirror and decide that for yourself. You want to surrender that as well? Like, we've lost the ability to turn to the side? Are you kidding me? So, I mean, that has nothing to do with being a track athlete, at a Division I level, but what a juxtaposition, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. And that was a lot of the reason why I didn't go into it is I just saw a picture, like I said in that post, I saw pictures of women who basically just look like show ponies that, I used to show horses growing up. So I know, you shine up the saddle and the halter and get them out there and, they have to stand a certain way. And it was just like, I don't want to feel like I'm just a herded animal that's up here for people to look at. And so I never went into that, even though, I was encouraged to, because that's how you would get your exposure. But then the other part of that, like I said, was, supplement, it's really just driven by supplement companies if you want to actually make any money from that. And supplements, especially now that I have a PhD in nutrition, is not necessarily something I really push because I'm trying to get people to use their diet to have access to and not need supplements. So I was
and they don't need most of them, right? Like, I mean, it's just like, come on, like, especially the kind that is driving that whole industry, right? And you talk about exposure, like, people start equating that with paying the bills. It's just exposure. It just means more eyeballs on looking at you. It has nothing to do with income and do re mi. It's just, when I was unpacking what you posted, I don't know why, but for some reason I went to way back to Gloria Steinem. You know who Gloria Steinem is?
I don't.
You don't? Okay, so I'm really showing my age then. So she was one of the very first feminists to expose this kind of thing. So she went undercover at the Playboy Mansion, at one of the Playboy clubs way back, like when Playboy was first a big thing. And she was a journalist, and she became like the leading feminist in the 70s. She was the publishing editor of Ms. Magazine. But she did a whole thing where Hugh Hefner was presenting the bunnies of having this really good life, and they made between 200 and something, a week, and they were doing really well. And so she went undercover, and all the stuff that exposed, like, the first certain amount of money that they made, they had to give 50% to the club. They had to get tested for STDs before they even started, but they weren't supposed to be having relations with any of the members unless the members had a certain key, and then it was okay. And then there was all this sort of hidden, layered stuff of exploiting these beautiful women. And then, she ended up getting attacked because basically, with the circular counterintuitive logic, she was too good looking to be a feminist. Basically, like, her opinion didn't count because she's a very pretty lady, and she's in her 80s now, and she's still a very pretty lady. I mean, there's nothing, but underneath that was something like what you reminded me of that you bring to the table is like several layers of a human being, of an individual. And I've always said that's the problem. If you're a three-dimensional person, then a one-dimensional person is never going to see that in you, no matter if you're male or female or whatever. But so it was reading your stuff. I don't know why, but it took me back to her stuff. And then if you look up later, like, she's got some great feminist quotes. One of her best quotes was, well, she used the word husband. I'll use the word spouse, but the translation was, some of us have actually become the spouse we were always dreaming of marrying. So it was just like some of us have empowered ourselves instead of looking for security and support and comfort, and we're giving that to ourselves now instead of and I don't think you can get that by standing on a physique stage and seeking validation for nothing more than how you look. But you can earn that in an athletic endeavor that says, here is real competition, the thrill of victory, the pain of defeat, all that stuff. Those are two different dimensions, no?
Oh, absolutely. I agree 100%.
Can you comment a little more on that? I think I have to turn up your mic, or you can turn up your mic. I'm having a hard time hearing you. Or just sit closer to your screen. Now I can't hear you at all.
You can't hear me at all?
Yeah, now I can. Now I can. And we can edit that, no big deal. But yeah, I'm interested in your feedback because it was looking at your stuff that got me looking back at all that. So what's your feedback on that? Impressions or reactions?
You're talking about specifically to
any of that stuff, the female, male dichotomy, the athlete versus the, sort of dog show kind of, juxtaposition. If you have like everything I just said, if the reaction to that.
Yeah, well, especially what you're talking about with victory and defeat. I mean, when you have a defeat in what I'm going to call athletics versus what I would call aesthetics, but a defeat or a victory in athletics is really going to be, when you handle it, it's going to be, how do I make this better? What work do I have to put in to make this better? It's not necessarily like a self-esteem thing, I would say. Whereas if you have people judging you just based on what you look like on a stage, that's going to be a completely different reaction, a completely different mindset than what an athlete would have, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I mean, someone from the physique world would come back and say, well, people in that world also look at defeat and say, how can I be better next time? But it's we're talking about two parallel roads going different ways, right? I'll tell you one of the things that threw me for a loop, and again, I'm always trying to decipher where the consumer is at, where the potential client is at, because oftentimes I forget. So I was doing this thing a bunch of years back. I ran a 20-week course called the Empowered Woman Experience. And I was trying to make a point, again, in the research, women are biologically meant to hold twice as much body fat as men. Just that's a biological fact. Individual variances, of course, as there is amongst men as well. So I was trying to make the point to the ladies that, striving for six-pack abs is the masculinization of the feminine mode, right? And it's not meant to be. It's going to be arduous. It's going to be a difficult, unsustainable task, and it's not really worth pursuing because it's not genetically viable for most females. And I thought I was trying to help ladies get off the page. And what shocked me was the feedback I got from people I actually respected and trusted, the females, said, well, I still want abs. I still want to shoot for like six-pack abs, and I still like, what's wrong with that? When I was like, I'm not saying there's something wrong with that. I'm saying for most ladies, it's unrealistic pursuit, and if you're going to beat yourself up over not being able to achieve it, then you're missing out on what all this could be for and should be for. And so that one really threw me for a loop, that even with explaining the biological differences in gender in general, the blowback was pretty heavy. I was like, no, I still want abs. I still want, what do you got, any thoughts on that? Like, just.
Well, I think that just comes down to that focus on the aesthetic, on the physical versus, okay, well, what do you even have the abs for? You have it for core strength. It's the center of all movement in the body. So let's focus on strengthening that. And then if you're doing that correctly and you're still working out, not that you'll necessarily have six-pack abs, but you'll be the best version of yourself that you can be, and you'll have core strength versus just doing a million sit-ups trying to get six-pack abs. And then all you've done is created an imbalance in the front from the back, and then you hurt yourself later on. So I think it's just putting the focus on the wrong thing. I think there are plenty of women who probably could relatively, put work in, but have six-pack abs without beating themselves up about it. But
Sure.
You're absolutely right. There are plenty of women that's going to be a pretty unrealistic thing. And that really comes down to your genetics, like what you're talking about. But focusing on just, can I count 6 versus having actual core strength, I think that's the real issue.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there too. Like it's the best version of yourself. The problem there is people who filter all that through body image will not accept any other version of themselves unless it's 30 pounds from now, 40 pounds from now, 20 pounds from now, six-pack abs from now. It's always some future version of themselves that they've never had. So basically it's saying, I envy other people for what they have, and that's what I want, instead of saying, understanding what the best version of me actually means, right? The other part of unpacking the genetics is physiological changes that happen as we age. So there's a lot of, and too much of, especially now with the popularity of fitness classes, women who have had kids and then two, three kids, and then respond hormonally differently than someone who's not, sort of metabolically suited to have kids and go right back to where they were, with the hormonal biochemical changes that ensue. And then they raise their kids because they're doing it right and they devote their life to their kids. Then they try to get back to a fitness lifestyle, but with the same body image that they were internalized when they were growing up and when they were younger. And so I want the abs, I want the glutes, I want the abs, I want the glutes. They go to all these classes, but I think there's nothing more demoralizing than having a 45-year-old lady who hasn't exercised in a lot of years walk into a class and have the hell beat out of them. That's not motivating them to come back. That's not helping them find their better selves and their best selves and feel good about me. What do you think about that? Like, just go ahead, Riff.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, personally, I haven't I haven't had the experience of having kids and then coming back, but honestly, even
But you've seen it, it's real.
absolutely have seen it. But what I was going to say is, even just being 31, I don't even have the same body that I had when I was 21 and running track. And so even I get in that mindset sometimes of like, man, I used to look better than this. And of course, I'm very detail oriented, and so most people would be like, you look exactly the same. But I understand getting in that mindset, and then to have hormones or age or a number of other stressors and factors that are really holding you back. And yeah, to go into a class that it's just, one, you see other people who may not have gone through all the same things that you have, and you're comparing yourselves to them, saying, oh, well, they get through this class just fine, what's wrong with me? And so I am all for, one, listening to your body, and two, really tailoring whatever workout, whatever athletic endeavor, whatever lift that you're doing to that person and where they are at that point, because everyone responds differently. Everyone has a different history. Everyone's had injuries, or they have taken a significant amount of time off, and you have to take that into account.
I think, yeah, I mean, there's a lot there. One of the things I don't like is when people say you have to listen to your body, because a lot of these people filter these things through no understanding of their body to begin with. So it becomes confirmation bias, and it becomes self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Like, I talked a lot about this stuff with metabolism, and how metabolism has three realms of time: the immediate, the residual, and the cumulative, and how our industry focuses on the immediate and the residual because that's how you sell supplements and that's how you sell transformation packages. But we know the consequences to that. So I think it's a real catch-22 to say, listen to your body, if no one's teaching you how to do that. So my coaching is all about biofeedback and teaching people what biofeedback actually means before they filter it through their own faulty belief systems. The line I use in most of my podcasts from Game of Thrones is, the belief is the enemy of reason. So if people have fixed beliefs, then it doesn't matter how well you reason with them. The other thing you mentioned, which is where I differentiate personal training with coaching, is you coach people, not workouts. You coach people, not diets. When ladies walk into these classes and things like that, you brought up a fundamental premise that I have problem with that most people can't see, and it's what I call the compare, contrast, compete. So you walk into somewhere and you are that 45-year-old lady, and why can't I do what that girl's doing? Why can't I look like that lady looks? Oh, how come she can do that push up and I can't do that push? And the compare, contrast, compete again demotivates and disempowers us. I get the idea of community and I get the idea of support, but in the back of your mind, if you're socialized to always compare, contrast, compete, and this is gender specific. So men do it with men, women do it with women. But women also do it knowing that they're being looked at and held to a higher standard than our males. So that's one of the reasons I do coaching, is so I can latch into people and where their faulty thinking is and how to fix it, so that we can remove the physique element from the equation and get them to have process goals and habit goals and things like that, and then ending up where they thought the weight loss or the physique transformation was going to take them anyway. We just remove the middleman. Run with that one for a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I really try to promote on my Instagram, is build the healthy habits first. Start making the right choices. You can do a million different things to lose weight quickly. But like you're talking about, there's, that medium amount of time that maybe it might still work, but you're probably not going to feel very good. And then there's the long amount of time where, you can't follow that crazy diet. And so now you're off of it. Now you gain weight back, you've lost muscle, and you've increased fat. And that's just, that yo-yo dieting, that it turns into an even worse point. That you're in a worse state than you were when you even started. And so, that's not just nutrition, that's your workouts too. So if you jump on every bandwagon, you're just, your body you're just putting all these different stressors on it, rather than just building a healthy lifestyle all around.
Yeah, metabolic chaos is what ensues. Yeah. I always say metabolism is either optimized or compromised. It's never in between. And the problem with looking at short term, are you familiar with the anti-catabolic phase of metabolism? The phrase anti-catabolic phase of metabolism? Come across anti-catabolic. So it's not anabolic, like it's not tissue building, but it's not tissue destructing either. Most diet studies in short term, and this is where people get caught in the trap of the residual phase of metabolism. The anti-catabolic phase of metabolism, you start some kind of deprivation diet, no matter what it doesn't matter what it is, low calories, low carbs, low fat, whatever, but it's a deprivation state. Your body in the residual phase, realizing there's less energy coming in, goes into an anti-catabolic phase hormonally and catabolically, where it's surrendering fat pretty easily. And you feel actually pretty good. Like in that first 6, 7, 8 weeks of dieting, you're telling yourself, wow, I can do this forever. This is like, wow, I never knew it could be this easy. But the problem with that residual phase is it doesn't last. Your body can only put up that fight and surrender that, because your body sees it as emergency mode. It doesn't know you're dieting, it just thinks you're starving. So it goes into this emergency mode like it would with fasting or everything else. And then come that cumulative phase, where the anti-catabolic phase can no longer sustain itself, is when metabolism kicks into fat storing mode. And then, like you said, you not only do you gain the weight back, but the research shows you gain even a larger percentage of fat than you had before. And I have ladies write me frequently, it's just, Scott, I finally get it. Like, I wish I was as fat as I thought I was before I started dieting. Right? So, yeah, you just reminded me. Are you familiar with the Biggest Loser study?
Yes.
Yeah, so we realize now the consequences and the cumulative elements of deprivation dieting without refeeds is a compromised metabolism. That went up to 6 years later, but it could be for a lifetime. So
there's actually my professor back at Texas A&M had and it's not just him. There are multiple other theories, but he had some research to show that almost a stair step weight loss program was the best one to be able to allow your body to like reset that metabolic point, so that anytime that you're burning fats, you're releasing the different all kinds of different hormones, but specifically ones that tell your body that, hey, we're losing fat, we're burning this, so we should store more because it's that emergency response, like what you're talking about. And so if you're setting off all these hormones that are telling you to eat, that you're hungry because it thinks that you're in that starvation mode, then it's very hard to overcome just by force of will what the hormonal effects in your body. And so if you can set yourself at just like a slightly lower weight and maintain that for a while and reset that metabolic point, and then do that again, reset the metabolic point, do that again, versus just this huge drop that you're probably just going to come right back up from.
Yeah, and the problem there is no one is taught that metabolic reset also takes place in the cumulative phase of time, and people get too frustrated and too impatient. So what do? They go back to some diet they did before. Definition of insanity. This time it's going to work. And then when it doesn't work, here's the worst part for me, Erin, is people then what do? They filter it through their belief system. So they start filtering, especially women, the self-judgment, instead of exploring, why did this happen again? What did I do wrong? Bad me, fat me, I'm a failure, I'm disgusting, I'm a fat pig, all these kind of like judgmental things that have no bearing on the physiological drive to eat when you're starving. Like the Ansel Keys study, the 1950 Minnesota study, you're familiar with that? I mean, and they were only in a deprivation diet of 25% less calories than maintenance. And it led to all kinds of psycho issues. And so now when we have deprivation dieting combined with a constant bombardment of food stimulus with commercials and food channels and social media posting your meals and this and that, it's a constant tease to the psyche for anybody that's on some kind of deprivation diet that leads to even more. This goes back to the competing thing. Like I've said, one of the reasons I got out of it is I watched all these formerly healthy females go into competition and come out of it never being able to have a sane relationship with food ever again. And that's just, I mean, imagine the freedom in your mind if you had other things to think about all day long than food and calories and weight and food and calories and weight, food and calories and weight, food and calories and weight. I mean, what's that? Sorry?
I think about food a lot, but it's more like, what am I going to eat next?
Yeah, I mean, that's how our minds are meant to work, right? I mean, I think it was Dr. Garner. He's an eating disorder specialist, and he was just like explaining our human drive. We have two human drives, right? For sex and for survival. And one of the survival is, well, sex, and the other one is sustenance. So there's the old saying, like, food and sex, they both only matter when you ain't getting any. So, so imagine being in a world of constant stimulus and you're trying to deprive yourself. It's just not a workable scenario. And then people end up like self-judging something that wasn't ever going to work anyway, right? It would be like me trying to outrun a horse. Like, all the training in the world, I'm never going to outrun that horse. So why would I keep saying you're just a slow, fat old man and you don't deserve, like, it just, I can't get a lot of the ladies to understand that. So, I mean, like, that kind of empowerment, it's tough to penetrate that kind of socialization from a young age, no?
Yeah, personally, I've been lucky. I've always been pretty independent and not worried too much what, as you could probably tell from that post, not worried too much about what other people were thinking of me. But
well, you're a true individual, so that, I mean, that's awesome.
I have always competed with myself, regardless, whether that's academics or athletics or, even just body image. Like I was saying, what I looked like before versus what I look like now, and I make that judgment even if it is just within myself. And so,
is it a judgment or an observation? Because there's nothing wrong with an observation that's real.
It can be. I always probably hold myself to higher standards than I should, but at the same time, I think, okay, hey, I'm 31 years old, and I do eat. I mean, I make healthy food choices, but I eat pretty much whatever I want, and I look pretty good for 31. So I'm just going to take it and realize that no, I'm 10 years older than I was before when I had that body, and I'm not doing 3-hour track practices and lifting sessions anymore, and I don't have time to, and I don't really want to do 2-a-days. So
yeah, people don't understand what goes into that.
Yeah.
But I have to give you the finger wag. You're not allowed to say I look pretty good ... for my age until you're at least over 40.
Okay.
You're just not. Yeah, you're allowed to say I look pretty good because you're 31. Wait till you're like 58 like me, then you get to throw the age in there. then you get to say, because on YouTube and stuff, that's where you tend to get the lowest common denominator of troll, and I'll get people say, oh, you looked way better before, and I'm like, yeah, I wasn't 58 before, I was 38. It's like, it's like, seriously, I have to actually address that. So I mean, it just, but you bring up a good point, because I think as we filter things through how we discuss ourselves with ourselves, ironically, a lot of people don't even do that, but like a lot of my coaching I do is teach people how to talk to themselves, like their own self-talk, right? One of the things I get a lot of my guests to comment on, we say lower levels of consciousness operate on stimulation, validation, and attention, and higher levels of consciousness operate on autonomy, mastery, and purpose. So I think what you're describing there is you filter the changes you're going through, and even in life, like you said, no more 2-a-days, no more like crazy practices and stuff, but you're still acting with something that I think a history of sport gives us, and I have a huge like my whole life as well, is autonomy and mastery and purpose. We're doing it for ourselves, whereas the social media driven people operate stimulation, validation, and attention, right? That's their wheelhouse. And it's harder for people like us to reach people like them and drag them into the higher consciousness, which is really, if you break down all their goals and say, like, why do you want to lose 20 pounds? Why do you want to do this? Why do you want to do that? It's always for this higher level of consciousness that we're talking about. They want to be autonomous. They want to be about, I've always said, like, mastery is when we own and control that thing we do. Obsession is when that thing we do owns and controls us. And there's like people who are in that lower level always seeking the stimulation, validation, and attention. They get caught into thinking that being obsessed with something is the same thing as trying to hone a skill and master it and be good at it and empower yourself through it. And they're not the same things.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that goes back a little bit to what we were talking about before, just in terms of, that stimulus and the visual, and instead of having actual depth and really understanding what you're doing and really understanding what your motivations are. And
exactly. Yeah.
Being able to tease that apart.
Yeah. And the new research, there's actually a term now called Facebook envy. And that's true. It's a state of neurosis. And the correlation has been proven now in more than one study. The longer someone spends on social media correlates with higher levels of depression. So these people and the lower levels of consciousness can't help themselves to seek through social media stimulation, validation, and attention. But rather than empowering them like they think it will, it makes them depressed and disempowers them. And one of the first things I try to do is get people off social media or drive them to people who are authentic and empowering. It doesn't even have to be in my field. I don't care. It's like, this person speaks truth, listen to some truth, and then you'll get how to be self-motivated, self-directed, autonomous, that kind of thing. I think, obviously that's something you're doing well, whether you're intending to or not.
It's pretty amazing how you can paint a completely different version of yourself on social media. And I've come across other accounts where people have their whole feed, they've obviously done some sort of preset and different themes, and it all just flows beautifully together. And I'm like, oh, maybe I should. No, I should not do that. I mean, if you look at my feed, it's just a mishmash of, there are plenty of videos that I take that it's no makeup, 6 a.m. in the morning, and I'm doing some ab workout, or my plate of food that I'll never be a food photographer, but hey, here are the different things that I chose to eat today based on, just making a little bit healthier choices. And so it's just this huge mishmash of, my dog, because he makes me happy. And
I was saving that for the end. All right, let's dive into Hank.
There is no there. The point is that there is no flow. It's real. It's your everyday, and people don't get that from so many social media accounts. They think that life is just going to be perfect, and so it's that depression, like what you're talking about, and anxiety of why can't I reach that, and then it just becomes this addiction of I have to get more likes and I have to make this look better, and like the study that what you're talking about. And
yeah, people aren't even themselves anymore. They're avatars of themselves. Like, they start believing their own bullshit. Like they go online and, and when I was sort of like resistant to social media and I didn't know much about it, this is years ago. I'm still not very good at it, but like you said, there's people that, spit and polish on social media. But before all that, there was people I would say, oh, well, show me so-and-so's social media. I was trying to get a feel for, what is this stuff all about, like fake book and all this stuff, right? So I would say, well, show me, and I would mention people I knew or former clients, and a couple of them that I brought up, I knew their lives were a complete train wreck, right? Like just like from as long as I've known them, just drama, cluster, and then so I remember this vividly, someone who was trying to teach me social media showing me these names that I mentioned, and they're presenting this life of perfection and happiness and wonderment, and I'm just like, seriously, is this what this stuff is about? To completely misrepresent yourself as having a life other people dream about when your life is a complete roller coaster, train off the tracks mess. And I remember, I just like, wow, I just remember saying I can't do that and I'll never do that. So there is sort of a little bit of a meeting halfway now, I think, because a lot of academics have sort of come to the conclusion that social media is inevitable. So now they are online and they are a voice, and it's sort of trying to meet out. One of the reasons we call my podcast the Smarter Sculpted Physique is because I limit it to intelligent people. I'm not like, oh, you should have so-and-so. He's got 1 million followers and a 20-inch arm. And I'm like, yeah, no, thanks. So I don't know. Tell it. Geez, we're already running out of time. But I did notice when I was checking your feed and stuff, something that I get pretty sentimental about. But you and Hank, tell us about Hank.
Hank, I think you just heard his name. Hank, I pulled out from under a trailer 6 years ago after my first dog got hit by a car, which was really, really sad. I didn't think I ever wanted another dog again, and yeah, Hank pretty much pulled me out of that little bit of depression that I was going through. And he's just, I'm not married and I don't have kids, and so it's like he's my person and we do everything together, and it's that unconditional love that most people search for all the time, and it's dogs are really good at that.
And then you end up trying to live the best dog quote I ever heard. Do you have any dog quotes? I'm a quote guy. I love quotes and cliches.
I can't, just not off the top of my head.
I saw your relationship, which was pretty clear. That reminded me of mine. Of my hooch is gone now, but it reminded me of the same kind of thing. But the quote goes something along the lines of, "My new goal in life is to be the person my dog thinks I am."
Oh yeah, I've seen that one.
Yeah, so it's
Another one that I like. It was it was about. Well, there's one that I work hard so my dog can have his best life, which I definitely do. I'm literally sitting in my dog's room right now. He has his own futon bed. But there's another one that just says that if entry into heaven is based on merit, then it's pretty much guaranteed that all dogs would get in and no men would. Maybe Mark Twain. It was an older quote. I want to say that's who it was, but yeah, I mean, you can't look at a dog and not smile or be happy, and they're always there to give you something to do, and he has a lot of the same interests that I do. Maybe not the fitness part; he's really good at supervising the fitness part, but water sports, and he goes surfing, and he'll come hiking with me in the different state parks, and
of course,
it's nice to have a buddy and. Nice to always have someone who's excited to see you when you get home.
yeah, they never get complacent about taking you for granted, right? We've been together forever, eh? You're never gonna get that from an animal, that's for sure. Yeah, my hooch was a rescue as well, so yeah, anyway, that was years ago, but I wanted to make sure I definitely brought that up. We didn't get to a lot of your stuff, but that's fine. Yeah, this was great. Do you have any parting words for people about? I mean, we'll put in the show notes where to get a hold of you and everything, but obviously, Erin Fitness, Erin Simmons Fitness, sorry, and your Instagram and everything. We'll put all that up. I mean, that's pretty simple. But any parting words? Hopefully we'll have you back. But
yeah, I would just say that whatever your journey is and whatever your goals are, that if you make small changes every day that you're dedicated to, you're going to end up reaching them much quicker than any of the little magic pills and magic potions and magic formulas that are out there. And for me especially, it's like I went and got a PhD, and my friends will ask me a question about something, trying to get validation for some thing that they're doing, and I'm like, well, no, because of X, Y, and Z, it's better to just make healthy choices every day, or pick this or do this more balanced workout program or something like that. And they're like, oh yeah, I think I'm gonna go with whatever the internet tells me instead. I'm like, why did I get a doctorate?
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, just do research that's not just some random person on the internet, and really be able to find what workouts actually make you happy and what foods you actually enjoy, instead of again, like we were talking about, trying to match it to what someone on Instagram or social media in general is doing and think that you're going to get the same results. So it really is that individualized. I know you didn't like listening to your body, but just being able to have that higher consciousness to evaluate what things work for you and what things you enjoy, instead of just depriving yourself of a bunch of things to reach a goal that's unattainable.
Or unsustainable. It can be attainable, but it's not sustainable. The saddest part for me, especially for women, is they come with unrealistic expectations, right? So they'll come to join with me, and they'll send me a picture of someone who's clearly just about to get on stage, right? Just like the abs are ripped, there's veins all up her abs, her glutes look like someone's got hooks in both cheeks, lifting them up and pulling them out, and veins popping in their arms. And I'm like, look,
look like that too.
She doesn't. Yeah, she's not going to look like that 2 weeks from now. Didn't look like that 2 weeks ago. It took her probably 16 to 20 weeks to even get to there. And so, and it's like I get the other thing too from former competitors. Okay, I've given up that world. I finally get what you're saying, how hard it is on my body, blah, blah, blah. But I want to look as close to that as I can. And it's like what you said earlier. Well, if you were doing 2-a-days at age 21 and working out for 3 hours a day, and now you have an hour to work out at with less work capacity and other real life stressors going on, guess what? You're not going to look like you looked. So it's not a realistic expectation. So, one of what I would love to get across to anyone who's listening to this and your crowd as well is finding that deeper self and better self doesn't come in a dress size, and it never will. So it just, and then the yeah but start, right? Yeah, but I've always been overweight. Yeah, but this is my time. Yeah, but the kids are out of the house. It's just like, yeah, but forget all that. Like, just, like, work the small process goals, start finding out what makes you tick. And it wasn't so much that I don't like that phrase, listen to your body. I think it just has to come with a lot of context.
Oh,
like,
absolutely.
See, you and I can say that. I've been in competitive sports since I was tall enough to compete in competitive sports, right? And old enough. And so have you. And you've been Division I. So when you do that year after year, day after day, you learn like, oh, I've tweaked something. Oh, this hurt. And you don't filter that through some kind of faulty, and even now with professional athletes, we have people who have to step in and go, nope, you're not playing tonight. You're hurt. Like, because even they'll filter things through. I'm reading my body. I can go, coach. I can go, coach. I can go, coach. So, we know what happened to Kevin Durant because of that, right? All that social pressure, like, he's wimpy. He's not tough enough. It's the finals. He should be out there, and then he goes out there and destroys his career with a ruptured Achilles tendon. Like, so that's what I mean. Like, it has to come with a lot of context. And when you have people with basically no athletic background, and we just leave them with that statement, listen to your body. They filter that through all kinds of alien friggin' notions, right? So, yeah, that's why it's problematic for me. But anyway, I could keep you all day, but I won't. So thanks for being on the show. So Erin Simmons Fitness, everybody, check her out. She's a pretty impressive resume for such a young lady. And continued success. And my hope is with my female guests is if you guys do, would engage me to come back again, we'll do it live so that my followers can jump in and ask questions and comments and be more engaging rather than just, because we don't have just a gender gap. We have a generation gap here. I mean, you don't know how old you made me feel when you said you didn't know who Gloria Steinem was. That was like an arrow right through my brain.
Sorry.
No, I'm just teasing. That was good. So it's all good. Thanks for being with us, and we'll let you know. We'll send you the link when the show comes out and everything. I usually post it video-wise to my social media first, and then we do the podcast. But thanks for being on, and hopefully we'll have you on again.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. It's been fun.
Okay, and give Hank a nice head rub for me.
Absolutely.
Bye, Erin.
Bye.